Like, if you prepare for the 7th grade state test, watch this video. All right. So we're going to go over the 7th grade state test. If you're preparing for any kind of final test and you're in the 7th grade, this is going to be helpful, I promise. All right, so let's go over these questions. We're going to start with the question number 2. I'm going to go over the questions that my student got wrong so you won't get it wrong. And let's go. Let's start. We start with question number 2. So the circumference of the circle is 15 pi centimeters. What is the area of the circle in terms of pi? So in order to convert circumference into the area, we need to find the radius. The radius is what we need to find anything about a circle, right? Radius. So how do we find radius if we know the circumference? For that, we need to know circumference formula. And it goes like this. It's C equals to 2 pi r. Now, out of all of these things, we know what C is because they told us. So what we do, we plug in, instead of the C, we put 15 pi, and we try to solve for r. Why do I say we try? I don't know. We solve for r. So what we're going to do is that we're going to cancel pi on both sides because, well, we don't need it. And we're allowed to, obviously. So it gives us 15 equals to 2r, which we can just easily divide by 2 and get r equals to 7.5 or 7.5. That would be our radius. Now we can use the area formula of the circle, which is area equals to pi times radius squared, and we'll find the area of this circle, which is area equals to pi times 7.5 squared, which you don't have to do in your head, and not that you can, which means that it's going to be 7.5 squared, 56.25 pi. Do we have to convert more? By converting, do we have to actually do pi as 3.14 and multiply? No, we don't have to. Why we don't have to? Because the answer contains pi. So we just leave it like that. Okay? And we move on to the next question. The next question is question number 6. A spinner is divided into 4 color sections. They are not of equal size: red, blue, purple, and orange. The arrow on the spinner is spun several times. So this is 50 spins, right? And they say the arrow on the spinner will be spun 1 more time. Based on the results, what is the probability that the arrow will land on the purple section? Okay, so this is called experimental probability. In the experimental probability, we kind of predict future, because that's what probability is. We predict future based on what happened before in our experiment. So what we're going to do is that we're going to predict which color we're predicting? Purple. We predict the purple. How are we going to do it? We're going to add everything up and put the answer into denominator, because in the denominator, in probability, denominator is total outcomes, right? All outcomes. So how many outcomes do we have? We have 15 plus 24 plus 12 plus 9. I don't know how many outcomes is that, but it is 60 outcomes. Okay? So 60 outcomes, and the purple will be 12. All right? So put the purple here. Now, obviously, we don't see the answer like this because the fraction is unsimplified, right? So since the fraction is unsimplified, we can't simplify it. By what? By 12. Okay? We divide by 12 top and the bottom of this fraction, and we get 1 over 5. And that will be the answer. Yeah. So there's 1 in a 5 chance that it will hit purple. Okay? We're moving on to the question number 23. Question number 23. We're skipping. You see, my students, they get a lot of questions right. Not everything they get wrong. So, a farm grew 19.8 tons of wheat in 2013. The farmer's wheat output increased by 9.8% from 2013 to 2014 and by 5.1% from 2014 to 2015. Which expression represents the strategy for estimating the total output of wheat in tons in 2015? Well, that's a decent question, actually. All right, so first of all, they say estimating, right? So do you see that in all answers, they have like 20? And that's how they estimate the 19.8. So they use 20. That's why they said estimate. Okay. So we're going to use 20, and they say increased by 9.8. How do we increase by 9.8 in one action? We increase by 9.8 by adding the decimal version of 9.8 to a 1. It's going to be 1 plus 0.98. But now I'm thinking that why would we need to use 9.8 if we're estimating, right? So we're probably going to have to use 10%, right? So we're going to have to add on 0.10 to a 1, right? So 1 plus 0.10, which is 1.1. And that's what we multiply to our original 20 to make it go up by 10%. Okay, so it's going to be 20 times 1.1, and then something will happen. Well, obviously, the answer is going to be D, right? Because there's no other answer that multiplies by 1. But then they say that it increased also by 5.1, which is 5%. So we can add 1 plus 0.05, which is 1.05. And then we also multiply the result by it. And that's the increases by percentages. Okay? So this is how it is. If you want to find the result of increase in percents, you convert percents into decimal, add it to 1 or subtract, depending what's going on, growing or declining, and you multiply. Moving on. 27? 27? 27. Okay, so can we just right away... Do we really actually have to do all of that? Maybe. Probably. Okay, we will. We're just going to mark this question mark as X because we're in 7th grade at this point, right? Question marks are, you know, amateur. So plus X equals 0. Now what I want to do is I would probably want to combine these two. Negative 4.5 plus 4.4 and 7th grade calculator, right? It's going to be 4.5 negative plus 4.4, which is this. Negative 0.1, well, obviously, right? Plus X equals to 0, which we're going to add on both sides to leave our X by itself, right? Like that. So the X will equal to 0.1. Now our goal is to find what would be positive 0.1 out of all of these questions. And you can do it on the calculator. Technically, you can do it on a calculator. And I think the answer is going to be A. Well, we can see it, right? So, but I don't know, we can confirm it if we want to, if we are unsure, you know, and it is, and it's going to be A, obviously. But what if it wouldn't be A? Could it be? Okay, so this is not going to produce anything. So maybe this, maybe. Let's do it. So 7.2 plus, parentheses open, 7.3, make it negative, parentheses close. You see? Click, equals negative 0.1, right? We need positive 0.1. So that's why A was the answer. I don't know if that would be the shortest way, but it will definitely won't fail you. Calculate everything, calculate what's in the problem, match the connect the same results. 29. 29. At midnight, the temperature was -8 Fahrenheit degrees. At noon, the temperature was 23 Fahrenheit. Which expression represents the increase in the temperature? Interesting. All right, so I would say same logic, same exact logic. Let's calculate what's gonna happen, and let's just find the same result out of all of those. So it was -8, and then it became 23. So what was the increase? By how much it went up? From -8 to 23. From -8, right? From -8's floor, you're going up and you end up at 23rd floor. How many floors did you go through? The correct answer from -8 to a 0, it's 8 floors, right? Yeah. And then 23 more, correct? So it's good. Yes. So it's going to be 31. Mm-hmm. The increase was 31. Now let's just find what will be 31 here. This is going to be -31. This is going to be, well, absolute value makes things positive, yeah. Right? So it's 8 minus 23, which is -15. No. This is going to be, this is not going to change anything. It's positive inside of the absolute value bracket, so it's just going to be -8 minus, so it's going to be -31. And over here, it's going to be -8 minus 23. We have to count that first inside, which is -31, and absolute value brackets will make it +31. I'm connecting the same answers, and it's going to be D. Yeah, same strategy works. Why not? Why not, if we know how to do it? The next question will be question number 32. No? Yeah, all right. Okay, so that looks hard, but in reality, I don't think it is. Let's see. The graph below shows the total distance in miles traveled by a towboat over the time in hours. So traveling in hours, distance, right? So this is like a speed. And it is. It says what it's. Which statement best describes the meaning of coordinates of point F on the graph? Okay, so point F, well, in 1 hour, it went 5.25 miles. I don't know what to say. Really. It says hours. It is a 1, right? So it's connecting 1 and 5.25 miles, right? So it shows that the unit rate of the graph in hours per mile. It shows the unit rate of the graph in miles per hour. Well, that's what it's going to be. But let's keep reading. It shows the time in hours it takes the towboat to travel 1 mile. No, there's no 1 mile anywhere here. So it shows the distance traveled in miles by towboat after 5.25 hours. No, 5.25 is miles, not hours, right? So it's definitely, even if you didn't catch it right away, it's definitely in between A and B. But what is it? Hours per mile? But I was traveling at 30 hours per mile. You know, nobody says it's miles per hour, right? MPH. That's what it says on the car. You know what I mean? So obviously it's going to be B because it's speed. That's why. That's it. No, we're going. This is that's it with this question. Okay. All right, we're moving on. What's next? 34. Yeah. Okay, that's the next book already. All right. Which number represents the probability of an event that is very likely to occur? You made a mistake here. Very likely to occur.
But like 0.9, right?
No, 0.09 is 9%.
Oh, I thought most likely. I thought
Yeah.
least likely.
No, most likely.
I didn't read it properly.
Okay. So most likely will be obviously, well, this is, it can be 130% of happening. So 89% is, yeah, is very likely. All right. Moving on.
Oh, yeah,
35. Okay, so it's an algebra question. It's combining like terms, and which expression is equivalent to n plus n minus 0.18n. All right, so what are we doing here? We're combining like terms. What is n plus n? N plus n, well, you need to know that in algebra, we don't put ones in front of the variables, but they're actually there. It's 1n plus another 1n. If there is something other than 1, we put it. Like if it's 2, we put 2n. If it's 3, we put 3. But if it's 1, we don't put anything. We just say the letter, okay? So it's going to be 2n minus 0.18n. And those are like terms, and we're allowed to smoosh them together. And 2 minus 0.18 is going to be this. It's going to be 1.82n. N. That's it. That will be it. All of these are like terms. They all contain n. So we're allowed to combine them. Okay. The next one is the next question, which is question number 36. Nick is making bread dough. The recipe requires 3/4 cup of flour and 1 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Okay, Nick wants to make a recipe using 1 cup of flour. Okay, to maintain the ratio, how much salt is required when 1 cup of flour is used? All right, so for this, we're going to have to use a proportion. How? We're going to say 3/4 cups of flour correspond, so it has to be across, to 1 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and then we want to find out what if we want to use 1 cup of flour. So flour, I always put like with the flour. So it's gonna be 1 cup of flour and x teaspoons of salt for 1 cup of flour. Okay, that's how it works. But how do we solve that? We multiply vertically across, right? So it's going to be x equals to 1 times 1 1/8, which we don't have to do. It's just 1 1/8, and we divide by the number that's across from the x. So dividing by 3/4. So we're going to convert this, right, into 9/8 times 4/3, which will give us, and it's easy to reduce here, you see? It's going to be 3 and 9, 1 and 3, and 4 and 8 is going to be 1 and 2, which is 3/2, which is, we didn't convert into mixed number, is 1.5. The answer is C. It's decently hard, you know, you have to deal with fractions and convert a lot, but the proportion is the hardest part here, and if you set it up correctly, you won't make a mistake. All right. 40. Okay. Okay, let's see. Howard has scale model of the Statue of Liberty. The model is 15 inches tall. Okay, the scale of the model is actual sketch statue is 1 inch, is 6.2 meters. What equation can Howard use to determine x, the height in meters of the Statue of Liberty? Okay, so even though you don't need to use a proportion, but you can, and you won't miss if you do. Look, 1 inch, right, corresponds to 6.2 meters, right? 15 inches will correspond to x meters, okay? And now we just do this times this equals to this times that. Do we have something like this? We actually do. Because what matters is that what numbers are across from each other. If there is 1 across from the x and 6.2 across from the 15, that's what we need, okay? Because it's going to be x times 1 technically equals to 15 times 6.2, right? And there's only one thing that will give us, it's D. Okay, proportion, okay? Using a lot of proportions. The next, oh, that's it. No more, okay, so we're done. And those are all questions that were wrong that we went over. And this is the first time that we're going to finish a little bit earlier, but that's all fine. So that will be it for now. The next will be the next.